You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live. We're going to do an Aston Villa fan Q&A. So we've got a couple of talking points we want to go over, but you set the agenda here. If you want to ask us a question, I'll put it to Ash and Pat. So first of all, gents, how are we? Ash, you okay?
Yeah, fine, mate. All good. Yeah, I'm over the Newcastle defeat now, so looking forward to tomorrow. And the reaction, Chambers and Gerrard are both promised quick starts, so go on then, lads, show us.
Pat, are you over Newcastle?
Yeah, I've erased it from my memory, as thrilling as it was. Yeah, I'm ready for the next game now. Bounce back time, innit?
Yeah, I was definitely over it, but now you've mentioned it, it's making me annoyed again just thinking about it. So we'll swiftly move on from Newcastle. Ash, you've obviously had Gerrard's presser this afternoon, but 1 o'clock-ish, I think it was, a couple of hours ago now. Just again, I ask you this pretty much every time we do one of these, just assess his general mood, how he was feeling, what kind of questions you asked him, and the mood from the Villa camp. Yes,
Gerrard's management has been there for all to see this week. He's held several one-to-one meetings with players such as Watkins, McGinn, and Tyrone Mings and people like that. So, yeah, he's pulled rank this week. He's got them down. He's collectively spoken to them and said they're way below the levels that they need to be at. Just the simple stuff that they lacked last week: determination, desire, grit, and really getting stuck in. Far too passive against Newcastle. Midfield non-existent. And I think Gerrard admitted to himself, the Leeds game 10 days ago took too much out of them on that Wednesday night. Gerrard went with the same 10 again, near enough, and according to him, he backfired. They're way off it, as we all know. So some home truths have been spoken about this week. Gerrard himself, he's batted away claims. I asked him about Watkins' form and his social media and stuff like that, and the backlash he's got off some section of the supporters. So he's trying to refocus Ollie Watkins. He said he'll be back in the goal sooner rather than later. And yeah, Gerrard's general mood today was getting back to winning ways tomorrow. That's the sole focus. And yeah, he told me there will be changes tomorrow. Not major changes, but 1 or 2 positions that'll change, personnel that'll change. So yeah, like I said, I'm not expecting wholesale changes, but 2 or 3, 1 or 2 will come out of the side, and a chance for those to keep their shirts. And like you say, look at Gerrard's reign so far. It was all hunky-dory. Not too long ago, he won 4 out of 6. He won 1 out of 7 now, and now's the time to really show what he's got, and can he turn this little dip around. So big chance to get back to winning ways tomorrow. And should they do that, I think the feel-good factor will return, and hopefully they can keep going again.
I mean, enough about Villa, to be honest. You always get distracted by comments, Ash, and there's one that's gone through from Ben Walden. Is that a friend of yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says Ash Preece, man of the match, 10 out of 10 and goals, Perry Bar, pitch 2 Thursday night. Tell us about this, Ash. What's been going on there? Ash did the cameo, he says.
I did a Di Canio volley at top corner. I swear to God, I was on fire last night. Yeah, played with Perry Bar goals. I think I'm signing a few DVDs later. Performance. The Bibs won as well. So, I think 5-5 the diff it was. So yeah, very good, and Walden's a classic. But yeah, I was on fire last night. So if Gerrard's listening, I'm ready for the call, mate.
Back to Villa. Pat, I said earlier we were going to be doing one of these, and I thought it might just be you two. So I said, here's a couple of suggestions for talking points for you. But I'll ask you the question, seeing as I'm here. How do we beat Watford? What do we do?
To be honest, it doesn't seem very hard for anyone to score against them. I think they've kept 1 clean sheet the whole season. So in terms of a game that you want to get your confidence back in, it's probably the one you want, to be honest. But it's either that or it's a big banana skin again, Roy Hodgson, I think the first clean sheet was the game against Burnley. I think he's taken to charge of 3 games now. 2 losses and a draw, I think, or the other way around. So he hasn't even scored a goal yet, so they're looking for their first goal. And as you said earlier when we were talking about it, it'd be very Villa, wouldn't it? It'd be peak Villa to give Roy Hodgson his first goal, first win, whatever. But yeah, in terms of it, we should have quality that overwhelms them, but as they showed us on the first game of the season, they've got pace and attack that can hit us on the counter. Ismail Sarr, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, probably butchered that there.
That was decent, I think, yeah.
There we go. But yeah, he hurt us. He ripped Target to bits that first game, didn't he? I think Target got hooked at half-time. And I think the main issue people see with Villa is the gaps between the centre-half and the full-back, isn't it? You can't get the ball out to them. The midfield aren't brave enough to come and get the ball off them. So there's a lot of space for the likes of Sarr and Dennis to operate within there. So it could be a bit of a banana skin there to fall on. But yeah, I would like to see us dominate this game, see a Gerrard style of play, to be honest. But whether that happens after the Newcastle defeat, it remains to be seen, don't it?
There's a comment here from Indy. He says, need the crowd to get behind the players too. If Watford take the lead, I fear the fans will make Villa Park toxic. How important, it's a classic cliche question, isn't it, Ash? How important can the home crowd be? It's a big game, isn't it?
It's a huge game, yeah, like you say. The Villa Park crowd's only toxic. What 15 games is the Gerrard era? It's just mental to think about, but he can, I guess. If Watford go 2 up early doors, you're thinking, hang on a minute. But yeah, the Villa crowd tomorrow got a big part to play. Like they did against Leeds, rampaging through to 3-1 up. Villa riding on a crest of a wave that Wednesday night, and they got pegged back from some silly defensive issues there. So they need a more rounded performance on Saturday. Watford, although the form, I think that they are dangerous. I'm going to have a go at it now, Pat. Ismail Assar is back, looking like he's going to start for the first time since December. So big threat on the break. Dennis is a goal scorer, as we know. So it's not no gimme at all. And if they play like they did against Newcastle, they get beat. Simple as that. So we need to see something drastic in terms of the first 20 minutes on the front foot and just boxing clever at the back as well. Defensively, Villa have been shaky of late, as we know. Inviting far too much pressure at times. On Sunday against Newcastle, it kept coming back. I mean, fair play to Mings and Chambers. They tried, but the balls kept coming back. Watkins wasn't holding it up. So we need to see a much better performance tomorrow. And like you said, I think the changes will help that.
There's a comment here from Craig. He says, we don't need a rounded performance store. We just need to win. I kind of agree to a certain extent. It leads into my next question quite nicely. I said before the Newcastle game on social media, is this a must-win? I kind of felt a little bit silly to say because I've said before, and I fully believe we're not going to enter Europe, and I don't think we'll be relegated this season. I think it would take drastic things to go right or wrong either way for those things to happen. Yeah. I think we'll finish somewhere between 14th and 8th, depending on what happens for the rest of the season. 8th is definitely pushing it, Ash, let me tell you. 14th to 12th is probably more likely. So in terms of must win, in terms of league position, sounds silly because what we're playing for, it's not a must win 3 points because we're fighting to stay up or fighting to get into 6th, but just for the atmosphere. It's been a tough week, isn't it? After Villa have lost, it always is. And you were saying there, Ash, almost joking about that Indy there saying about making Villa Park toxic. And I know this is a different kind of scenario, but after the Newcastle game on YouTube and social media, it was kind of losing faith in Gerrard. Is he the right man? What is his style of play? Are we any better than under Dean Smith? So those questions are starting to be raised. And then, Craig there says we don't need a rounded performance, we just need to win. And like I said, I kind of agree, a win will do. But if we win and play well and we start to see what Gerrard's style is, we'll come away Saturday tea time going, okay, let's not panic just yet. So that's why I think I'd class it as a must-win. It's nothing to do with league position. It's just atmosphere and getting the tone right.
Yeah, 100%. The manner of the Newcastle tweet was alarming for everyone. I was there. Those watching it on the box at home. It's just not what we've been used to of late. Just days before we lauded the likes of Ramsey, Coutinho for their displays, and then a few days later, it's like I'm giving them 4 out of 10s. It's like don't start me on player ratings as well, Dan. But yeah, it's been chalk and cheese of late. So consistency, Villa are looking for it. They haven't found it yet. Results have been up and down, as we know. And there's a good chance now to. We've got Watford next, Brighton the week after. Good side Brighton. So they need to pick up some results against sides in and around them. I know Brighton are well ahead of Villa at the moment, but those are the clubs Villa looking to overtake, and to do that, you need to beat them. So, need to find that winning formula again. And I mean, I'll throw this to you, Matt. Who comes out the team?
Well, we're going to come on to team news in a second, so Ash, I'm going to interrupt your question there, and we'll come back to it in a sec. I just want your thoughts, Pat. A couple of comments since we were last talking there. I'll be delighted with a grim 1-0 win. It's a stop the rot game. Don't care how it's won. And Phil Weeks says no chance of my losing faith in Gerrard. That's ridiculous, and I agree with that. But I'm just putting that side across. That was some of the things we were seeing after Newcastle. Pat, would you take a 1-0 off Ollie Watkins' backside, or do you want to see a good performance as well?
No, I'd take a 1-0 off Ollie Watkins' backside every day of the week, to be honest. I think the first few games of the Gerrard era, we just looked really, like the characteristics were tough to beat, weren't we? We were like grinding out results. Second half performance, defensive performances, just like shutting up shop. But then it seems to me like lately it's just like the goals are leaking in, aren't they? And it's sloppy. Chris passing isn't there. And then like the first few things we saw in the Brighton game with the little triangles between like Ramsey and Watkins and Danny Ings and whatnot, and we lost that as well. So I feel like people just want a 90-minute performance, to be honest. People just want an impressive game that isn't like, oh, we had that 25 minutes where we were quite impressive, but then the game slipped away from us. I just want a 90-minute performance. That's all I want. A clean sheet. And like I said, like Tony said there, I'd take a 1-0 all day long, yeah.
Yeah, I want to be coming out of that game and doing the podcast afterwards going, last 30 minutes was lovely. Like we knew we were 2 or 3 up and absolutely comfortable. That's what I want to see. I just Villa in control for a change. Yeah. Back to your question, Nash, team news. You said you wanted to put to us what kind of side we go with. Now in the week, there was kind of rumours about him Buendia potentially still being out with was it a hip injury? Did he take a whack to the hip?
Like you said.
Yeah, dead leg, something like that. Buendia is fit and available. And you did like a predicted team 11 of having Ashley Young in there ahead of Buendia, and people going, Buendia dropping one of our best players, what are you talking about? And that was kind of preempting he might be injured. Buendia is fit and available, so I assume Ashley Young doesn't play, particularly in a forward role. Whether he comes in at right back is another debate. So I haven't really thought of a team yet because I've been rushed into this podcast, so I'll come to you first, Pat. What kind of 11 would you go with if you were in charge this weekend?
The Buendia one's interesting, isn't it? I saw a few people talking about on Twitter that since Coutinho's come in, obviously before that, Buendia was playing on the left, wasn't he? And that's where he was probably a few games you're like, that's his best game in a Villa shirt. He's operating that space, turning it into Ings at Brentford. But he swapped over to the right now, hasn't he? With Coutinho on the left, and we haven't really seen as much of him, or as much of anyone, to be honest. I think the big change, the main issue for me against Newcastle was we couldn't get the ball out of defence because it just seemed like there was a lot of Chambers or Mings, and the only time we got forward is if they went on a run. It's like you don't really want that, do you? And then we got better when the midfielders were a bit braver. And if I'm thinking of who's on the bench that could be brave on the ball, drag us forward type thing, I'm thinking Morgan Sanson, like Champions League experience. He's done it all, hasn't he? So I'd probably bring him for the side, but then you're saying where you're going to play him, and you're probably going to have to leave the defensive midfielder role and just play a flat 3, in my opinion. So just go Sanson, Ramsey, and McGinn. Yeah. So that's probably the one change I'd make. I don't think I'd drop Cash, to be honest. I don't think that's an improvement or would make us any better. I really didn't think he was that bad. I thought it was just I feel like the concentration was focused on him because we didn't create a lot. And when we did, it was Cash that found himself in space on the right wing. And obviously, it's the same as when we played wing backs. It's like when you leave a defender to do the main attacking responsibility, he's never going to be as good as it is, is he? So I wouldn't be making that. Maybe just Sanson for Louise is the one change I'd make, and maybe Watkins for Ings just because of the form.
Yeah, there's something about Cash that is a little bit frustrating, but again, I don't think it's drop worthy just yet for me anyway. I've written down a team while you were talking there: Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Chambers, Dean, Sanson, McGinn, Ramsey as a flat 3. Buendia
suspended still, isn't he?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, Chambers, Mings, sorry. I've written it down wrong, but I knew what I was supposed to put. Sanson, McGinn, Ramsey, Buendia, Coutinho as the 10s, and I've got Ings up front.
Yeah,
I would be dropping Watkins. I think it's time for Ings to get a bit of a run out.
Just on form, isn't it? It's just like someone's in a rush. They need to get off the pitch, or you're hanging out to dry a bit, aren't you?
I've seen a lot of kind of podcasts in recent weeks talking about like how football's adapted and changed, and it's not like dropping players and stuff. It's rotation, isn't it? It's having a squad for the sake. I wouldn't have you wouldn't write this headline Watkins dropped. It's Ings in, isn't it? Ings is the talking point, not Watkins being dropped. So that's how I would go. Ash, you're the expert here. What would you pick?
Yeah, I think I'd take Watkins out the firing line. I think he could do with a little break. I'll give Ings a shot. I really would. I think Watkins was poor last week. You're allowed to be critical. That's what I thought of it. His body language wasn't there. He's had a confidence hit. That happens with strikers. So I think Ings is deserving of a chance to have a crack to lead the line on his own without Watkins there. And Watkins perhaps come on, half an hour left and get a goal for his confidence. So I'd take Watkins at the team. I'd start Ings tomorrow. And I'd like to see Morgan Sanson in for Douglas Luiz as per Pat's 11.
The other thing I want to talk about, just going quickly back to Newcastle defeat, Matt Targett's quotes after the game. And this is only because I've been doing a lot of social media stuff in the last couple of weeks, and I did like a quote graphic of what he said to TalkSport. And there was 2 bits in one where he kind of said, I was first choice last year. I was quite surprised they signed somebody like Luca Dean or someone of that calibre. And you kind of think, well, if we're a club that's improving, you've either got to be good enough to play in it or expect to be replaced. So don't quite agree with that. And then there was one that I think was a throwaway line that's probably been taken out of context, saying about like how Eddie Howe spoke to him, and he kind of said, the tactical mastermind behind beating Villa kind of thing. It's like, Matt Targett is now speaking like a man who knows he won't beat Aston Villa next season. I would suspect people saying, he's got to come back in the summer. Like, that's going to be awkward. But I think it's probably a bit of an interview that's been taken out of context to an extent, or he knows he won't be there. I just quickly want to get your thoughts on Target's future, I guess, more so than anything.
Yeah, I don't think we've got Dean on a 4-year deal, is it? I don't think Target's got much hope of coming back. And I think Ash has mentioned before about Villa potentially making a move for Aaron Hickey. So I think if those would probably be the two that we go forward with in the next few years. Target's quotes, yeah, they were a bit baffling, weren't they? But it was honest. I thought fair enough. Like he said, Dean's a world-class player. He's probably not going to get game time. He's 26. There's a World Cup approach, and obviously he's quite far down the pecking order for left back. But if he wants a chance to get in at any point, and if there's an injury or something, he might get a rotation role. But yeah, I thought it was honest. I didn't really have a problem with it, but then his comments, I think they were just like taken out of context. The ones about, I'm the mastermind behind Villa winning. He didn't give too much away, but he did speak to him about him. But yeah, it's never going to be taken lightly on Villa Twitter, is it? And it's probably have been burnt now.
Yeah, I'm particularly not bothered about it either. Like you, Pat, he can kind of say what he wants. Yeah. He's with Newcastle at the moment. I assume he's not going to be here next season. But the flip side of that is people saying, Target's got no fight, he's got no bottle. You know, he doesn't want to fight for space. We don't want those characters in the side. And I suppose you kind of fall on either side of the fence there. You either care and think, yeah, what the hell is that all about? Or you just think, yeah, go and do what you want. Yeah. What side do you fall on, Ash? Do you think he's got no bottle, or do you just think he's an honest player? He's gone out to get some game time and that's that?
A bit of both, really. I'll be honest. A bit of both. I think he's a professional footballer. He's seen an opportunity to go and play first-team football at Newcastle, and he's taken it at the first time of asking. He admitted how he was shocked to see Luca Dean signed in the first place. So perhaps Target was a bit comfortable within himself that he was the number one left-back here. He got a bit comfortable. He's players player last season. I think he thought he was a bit untouchable, to be honest. But Gerrard come in and made that opportunity transfer to get Dean in, and Target didn't like it. And as soon as the chance come available to move on, he took it, didn't he? So I'm going to apologise with him. It's up to him at the end of the day. I think he's done it for the betterment of his career. He doesn't want to sit on the bench, and they're paid to him. Like, okay, we move on, and we move on without him. So yeah, no qualms with me.
The one thing that slightly irked me, it's a little bit like when Steve Bruce was manager, and he kind of said, who's going to do a better job. It's almost like it sounded like Matt Target was going like, I can't believe Villa replaced me. Like, as if they don't manage to attract someone like Luca Dino, like, who do they think they are? Like, dropping me. That's kind of what hurt me a little bit. And I don't know whether that's me reading too much into it, but I'm shocked that we can attract someone of that calibre. Oh, do me a favour, Matt Target. We can do better than you, clearly. We bought a left back sorted. Off you go, son. That hurt me a little bit, but like, I'm not really that bothered. Back to Ings and Watkins. Again, a couple of comments here saying about, drop Ollie to an extent, but, he can't play himself into form from the bench. But when you've got somebody like Danny Ings, who is a natural goal scorer, well, previously has been a natural goal scorer, not necessarily at Villa, you've got to change it up at some point, haven't you, surely? I
think I've read some quotes recently that he's still not 100% either, Danny Ings. I think I read that article. But so give Danny Ings, 70 minutes like we did, what game was it? I can't remember. Was it the United game? Give him 70-odd minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
Change it up, and then Watkins looks bright when he comes on with fresh legs, and he was doing it when he came back from injury. I think the Brentford 1-1 draw, he looked really bright. Games like that. So just see what happens. If he can grab a goal, get his confidence back, I think the fans are going to get on his back a bit as well. Probably it's just time to just rotate it a bit, freshen things up. He's got to make some changes, and the goals are automatically where you look, aren't they? So that'll be the one for me.
100%.
Do you think there's an extent of it where Gerrard's come out a couple of times after Newcastle and then against Day saying, there's going to be changes, that almost like not changes for change's sake, but he's got to put his stamp on it and go, I'm going to be ruthless here, you weren't good enough, here's 3 or 4 changes. Not for like I said, not for the sake of it, but to say, I'm in charge here.
Yeah, I think so. I think he said today the easiest decision he'd make would make loads of changes and change the whole 11 if he could. But not for the sake of making changes. No, I think Danny Ings, £30 million acquisition in the summer. Not going to keep him on the bench. I think he's deserving of a start now to come into the side and prove his worth. We know his finishing ability. We haven't seen him link up with Philippe Coutinho and Buendia properly yet together. So I'm looking forward to see the trio work together tomorrow, should he start. So, it's an exciting prospect, and it's these options we'll have on the bench now. Leon Bailey's back, second week of full training for him. Gerrard spoke really glowingly of him today. He's waiting to burst back onto the scene again. So we could see Bailey tomorrow. We'll see. But £30 million players we're talking about here. And they're struggling to get a game at the minute. So yeah, I think Ings comes in tomorrow, and I think Bailey will play some part at least.
In your team, Ash, I don't know whether you actually read it out. Would you have Sanson as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's deserving of a start as well. For similar reasons why Pat's mentioned. I think Sanson, getting him involved now. I think Douglas Luiz did below the standards of late. His performances haven't been nowhere near good enough. I think he's been one that's been coasting. I've been in this podcast before. A big Douglas Luiz fan. I like what he brings, but of late he hasn't been doing it for me. So I think Morgan Sanson, he's only had 5 starts in 13 months in the Premier League. It's just not happening for him at the moment. So hopefully now he can force his issue and take that starting shirt and raise the bar again and keep it. He hasn't managed to do that yet. And he's had rotten up with injuries and stuff, but I think it's a big chance for him tomorrow to come into the side and show what he's about. Play with real pedigree, Champions League, playing for a big club like Marseille as well. So he'll be desperate to stake his claim tomorrow. And I think he's at least one of the changes that'll come in.
It is interesting to kind of see how people react to players being dropped or rotated or whatever you want to call it, that kind of depending on who they like. So people will like Ollie Watkins and go, oh, let him play himself into form, and then dislike Douglas Luiz and say, I'll just drop him. Douglas Luiz isn't allowed to play himself back into form. What do you do, Pat, with Douglas Luiz specifically? He has been struggling for a while, and everyone says the same thing, that DM is not his position. We all know that. And I agree. But my problem is when he does get a bit further forward, and I think I do like him. I was just about to say I do rate him, but I'm not even necessarily sure whether I'd say I rate him, but I like him and I want to like him. My problem is that when he does get a little bit further forward, it's not like you suddenly go, oh yeah, he is more like a number 8 or he is more like a number 10. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's not a number 6 for sure, but he's not like he's this brilliant number 8 that we're holding back either. Like, I don't know. I just don't really know what he is at the moment, and that's probably quite a big
issue,
problem.
though, isn't it? Like, you don't get to see him in that role, and when you have, he's looked really bright. Like, I keep saying it, I've said it a few times, a few podcasts in a row now. The Everton game when Nakamba got subbed on for McGinn after that head injury, the Man City game, those games where he was playing number 8, and they're his best games this season, I thought. So it's just annoying that whenever we're like starting to see him play that number 8 position, I think he got an injury as well that kept him out for a bit. He's been travelling. He had that long summer, didn't he, at the Olympics? So once you get him fully fit, someone gets injured and he has to drop into number 6. And then again, you don't see him in his best position. And then now his contract's dwindling down. No one knows if he's going to sign a new one. And the thing that always goes in my mind is you're going to see him go to a team like Newcastle or something, go play alongside his, I don't know how to say that, the other Brazilian guy's name.
Bruno.
Bruno, him one, that one. But you'll see him play next to him like they did at the Olympics. He'll probably thrive, or in another team where he plays as a number 8. And you'll see, you'll be kicking yourself as to why we sold him or didn't sign to a new contract. But yeah, it is. I don't rate him as a number 6. I used to, but then I thought he could play the position. But then obviously in recent weeks, we've seen how susceptible and lack of defensive security we have while he's on the pitch, to be honest. I think it's time to change it. I don't know if Sanson can even play the position, to be honest, just to hold. But I think in terms of games, for us to do it, Watford, one of the worst teams defensively, probably not going to pose that much of a threat. It's probably one of the games to trial it, to be honest. Yeah,
well, you could make the argument of saying Douglas Luiz could play in a flat 3 then and just have him play as number 8 tomorrow rather than as a number 6. There's a comment here from Phil Weeks says that the subtitles on this podcast just called him Morgan Sandstone. I wonder whether making him out of sandstone will be more durable than what he's actually made out of, getting injured every 5 minutes. Ash, your internet's struggling a little bit, so I'm going to wrap up with predictions for tomorrow. Again, pointless feature. I don't know why we even do this. I said at one point we'd keep track of our predictions, see who does better than everyone else, but I haven't. I imagine we're all going for a Villa win here, but I'll come to you first, Ash, before your internet drops out from this storm taking down your house. What do you reckon?
3-0. What's all the panic about? I think that'll be it tomorrow. And then we bounce into a new week and whack Brighton for 4 or something, yeah.
Bloody hell. All right, Pat, you're normally you're quite optimistic as well, actually, aren't you? I was going to say you're the pessimist, but that's Kendrick. You're optimistic. I reckon you're going to go 3 or 4 here as well.
No, I'm going 2. Slightly more realistic. It's 2-0. Quality of Coutinho is going to overwhelm them.
Just to even it out, we'll go with a win, but I'm going to say 2-1. just because Watford are bound to score, aren't they? That stat, I don't know what it was about that they've not scored in how many games, or Hodgson hasn't won yet or whatever. Something will change that Watford will score 100%. Something will happen. So 2-1 for me, Ash 3-0, 2-0 for Pat. Comments coming through, 1-0 Villa, 1-0 Villa. So not as optimistic as us. But we'll call it a day there for this podcast. Thanks to you both for your time as always. I'm just going to dive straight out because the internet is definitely playing up. So thanks all for your time, and we'll see you again tomorrow night for the post-match show. Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.